This is one of my particular favorite features of Coachr. I added this about a couple seasons in because for all this analysis we could provide after the fact, capturing attacks and percentages and all the rest, it was really important to make sure that the team was on the same page when we got to the court. So pre-match planning is all about figuring out what system we're going to use. If we're at that stage, we can take a look at what our opponent is doing and how we're going to try to stop them. In many cases, it's more about what are we doing well that's going to help us earn points. So pre-match planning is really important, and communicating that with your team is also important. So Coachr gives you some really good tools to be able to build that pre-match plan to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So when we have a full match like the one that we set up yesterday in the deep dive, we do have a planning tab, and even in the middle of a match, we can go in and add additional plans. We've got general lineup substitutions, serving subs, which is a variation on substitutions, defense, offense, and serve receive. We also can get to that up here, and I'm going to show you that that's important in a second. We also have our scouting report here too. So if you are taking a look at your opponent and you're concerned about how you're going to stop them and you're at that level, this is a great place to add information there about maybe what hitters you want to try to stop and how. But more often than not, the way I use the planning feature is I'll go to those matches that I've set up as scout matches. So I've gone to the review lineup section when I'm starting a new match, and I've hit scout match. And you'll see that I've got a bit fewer tabs. I've got my on-court set up so I can tinker with my lineup here. I'm pretty happy with this. And when I go to the planning section, I can see the same thing I saw in the live match. Here I can go, just like in the live match, and change the name of the match. In this case, I'm pretty happy with next opponent scout match. I could take this off because I know that it's a match. I don't need to say that. When I hit the enter key here on my keyboard, now if I'm using a soft keyboard, it'll pop up. If I hit enter there, it'll close it. I can also then tap in the demo to change the name of the competition that it's part of. But really, I want to start adding some notes. So in general, this is where I would just add some notes about what we're going to try to do today, what we're going to try to accomplish. Typos and all. Now, since this is going out to my team, I tend to go and correct a lot of those typos. We've also got this option here. It'll be clearer in some of the other match plannings, where we can say whether this is the general plan for the match, for a particular set, or maybe it's an alternative. When things go a bit south, this is what we might have to do. So I'm going to save these notes, and I can see that it starts to add them in my planning section. And from here, I can go in and add additional notes. So I'm going to add maybe an alternate lineup. So I'm pretty happy with this one. This is my main lineup, and that'll be the default when you come to this screen. So you don't have to go and add that again. It'll kind of add that to the plan, as we'll see in a little bit, just out of the box. But if I have an alternate that I might want to run, like say I want to run with two setters, I'll drag Kiara in here and replace Barbara. So now I'm going to run a 6-2 with this lineup. And if we're going to do that, then we probably want Barbara in there as an outside hitter. So we'll chuck her over there. And maybe we don't want to start in that config. Maybe we'll start here. So I can add some notes about this. Maybe this is in an emergency. And we'll save those notes. And we'll go back. And these notes are really useful for later because they'll come out on the sheets that we share with the team. And if I go up to plus and I'll go to the next one, I'm going to handle my lineups in a little different way. I'll say maybe actually during the match, we're going to think about how we're going to add players on the court and how we're going to get people playing time. Just like before, I can assign this to a certain set. Maybe in set 3, I want to make a bunch of subs. I can also here determine what type of sub they are. Is it just a regular one? It's going to happen whenever, maybe just in the back row or front row. Maybe they're just a serving sub, or maybe in an emergency, this is where this person's going to come in. So I can go drop down here. In fact, we'll say, okay, Laura is going to come on and for a lot of positions, when you have positions assigned, it'll give a little green highlight. So just for your ease of finding people, you'll say, oh, actually, yep, we'll have her come on for Jimena, and we'll hit the plus button there. And then maybe we'll have a serving sub. We'll have Alessandra come on. And I can say none if she's just a general serving sub. So when I hit the plus button, I know that because of this icon, she's coming on as a serving sub. It may be just for somebody who's struggling in that particular instance. And if I hit the back button, we'll see we've got our emergency lineup. We've now got our substitutions that are coming in. Serving subs is exactly the same. In fact, it's exactly the same. It's even got these. It's not auto-selected, which I probably should do that. But I don't have any additional serving subs. Now, if it's added something there with no plans and no additional subs in, I can always swipe to the left, and that'll bring up this remove button, and I can get rid of plans that I've made by accident. And in the next three here, defensive system plan, offensive system plan, and service plan, this is where we get a little bit more visual. So in the defensive one, we have a few options. I can go in here and I've got this canvas. I can go and draw out how I want us to play. Maybe we'll talk about the opposite hitting. Maybe they've been really strong, so we're going to play it like this. That's going to be our defense. But my drawing skills aren't the best, and I've got some built-in ones for you as well. So if we go up to choose a system, I have perimeter baked in. So we have a look at the base defense and then what happens when the ball goes out to the left side and the right side. I have a perimeter where the off blocker aggressively covers tips. I've got a rotation version where we're rotating towards the attacker and they're covering the tips. And I've also got middle represented as well. So if any one of those works for you, I tend to use these because, of course, I built this for myself. But if none of these work for you, you can always draw your own on the canvas just by going to custom, and that'll bring up the canvas. So I'm going to choose middle defense for today. Again, that's popped up down here at the bottom. And it's the same thing for offensive system plan. Now, we don't have any baked in offensive systems here. We might say, actually, we're going to focus largely on the outside hitter today, and they've got huge middles on the other side. So we're going to try to stay away from the middle and maybe spread on the slide a bit more. So this is something we might share with the team just to have an idea of like what we're going to focus on today, especially the setter. So when I've got my drawings done and they're beautiful, I'm going to hit save diagram. And when I go back, I can see that that's been added here. And it's the same for service plan. So for my service plan, I might go and choose full court rather than half court, because maybe I have a different plan depending on where they're serving from. So maybe if they're serving from over here, I'm going to pass with 3. And if they're serving from the other side, I'm going to pass with 2. I'll save that diagram. And then when I go back, this might be something I want to make a note of, because while the picture says 1,000 words, it is useful to have notes. So I might put that in the general notes. I might put that in notes attached to that particular diagram. And then I can also go into the scouting report. Here you can see I've already got a note about outside hitter number 14. Hits really hard. We want to make sure that we block line. So once I have all of this set up, I want to make sure that I share it with my team, because otherwise, what's the use of making all these plans if it's only just in my head? So I want to make sure that I can go to the share button, and I can either share the active match file. I do this a lot in my workflow. I'll work here on my nice iPad that I don't really want to bring in the gym. I'll draw up the plans, and then I'll take this older iPad with this incredibly solid case that gets beaten up a lot. I'll drop the active match file onto that and open it up in Coachr. This isn't connected to any of my personal iCloud accounts or anything, so it's not syncing over the data. So I'll drop over the file and work on it from there, and I'll have the plans on my person when I'm sitting there on the sideline. So I can review those with the team either before the match. We've also got these two options here where we can print or export to PDF. It's the same information, it's just in different formats. One is optimized for printing, so the plans are broken up on different pages and they're organized a little differently. Whereas export PDF looks like a match plan you might see from the guys on Art of Coaching Volleyball, like Terry, where they have a very specific format that they like to follow. This looks really good on your devices, so your phones or your iPads. So if that's how you're sharing with your team, you might choose export PDF. And if I do that, it'll bring up the share sheet. I'm going to actually mail this because we can kind of see this in mail. We can see we've got our starting lineup over here, the info about the match, some of our notes, our planned substitutions, our serve receive plan, our match defense plan. So this is where using the diagram, for me anyway, is a little bit more handy because this makes more sense than something like this. We've got our alternate lineup and our scouting report right underneath it. And if I had multiple alternate lineups, because I could do many, they would all show up here in a list. We've also got the offensive plans. And we've got a bit of space for notes. So this is something I would share with my team beforehand if they're going to go check it out on their phones or their iPads. The other option is to choose the print option. So you might print this out and then drop it in the locker room. And this is something they reviewed before the match. So if I save that one to files, because it's a little bit bigger, we're going to save that. And I do have a version of that saved earlier, so we're going to replace that. And we'll go here and open up our match plan. And we can see a few pages here in the sidebar. We've got our info about the match. We've got our notes, starting lineup. And then on the next page, we've got our scouting report and all our alternate lineups. We've got our planned substitutions and any serving subs we might have. We've got some of our diagrams from serve receive for defense, for offense. And then we've got an other notes page as well, in case they want to write down their own notes about what they expect out of the match. So these are the things that I share with my team before every match, just so we're all on the same page. We know what system we're going to be using. So when I start yelling about, middle defense, they know, oh, that's right, that was in the plan. We're on that one. It's really important to communicate this stuff with your team beforehand, because if you have the best laid plans, if your players don't know about it, it's going to be really difficult to execute. So by having the information for them, having maybe a bit of an idea about the philosophy behind your serve receive or some of the keys for the game for you, that's going to go a long way in your match.